All right, guys, you're listening to the Inspirational Power Hour, and you have got to know how excited. Now, I've said in the past that I've been excited, but I'm excited today to talk to this. He's one of the most talented songwriters, producers, artists, singers, performers, definitely, of our time. And I'm talking about none other than PJ Morton. How are you, sir?
Wow, thank you. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am good. Listen, we are so excited that you've taken time out of your super busy schedule to talk to us.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Good to be talking to you guys and hanging.
So listen, first of all, I have to say congratulations on the latest release, Gumbo. Released just a couple of weeks ago. It's a great album.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I put my soul into this one, and I'm really excited with the reception, first of all, but also just being able to get it out. You know, I've been holding this one in for a while, and I'm just happy that the world has it now.
Okay, so PJ, I have to tell you how I was first introduced to your music. It was about 2004, I think 2004-ish, maybe. Okay, so first let's go back. Christopher Lewis, who is a friend of mine, he's from Atlanta, I think, originally. Then he moved somewhere on the East Coast. Chris first told me about your music, about you breaking off as a solo artist, and he was really, really excited about it. And then a while after that, a good friend of mine, Rhonda Davis, we know her, she's been in a lot of Tyler Perry's plays lately. So Rhonda, who was classmates, went to school with a musician by the name of Michael Burton. I know you know Mike.
Okay. Yeah. I know Mike and Chris very well.
So Rhonda invited me to go and hear Michael with her. He was playing at this spot in Jackson called Hal and Mel. So we went, and she was like, I don't know who he's playing with, who he's on tour with, but let's go hear Michael. So we get there, and we roll up in there, and lo and behold, it's you. And so that was my first time actually seeing you live and hearing your music at all. And that had to have been 2003 or 4 because I think Emotions had just come out.
Yeah, so that probably it was either at the end of '04 or the top of '05. I remember that show, though. That was my first time playing in Mississippi. And so I remember that well.
And so ever since then, I have been a fan, PJ. I followed your career and so happy for everything you have going on. It's been quite a ride.
Thank you. Yes, it's been amazing. It's been a lot of different twists and turns, but it's mostly been forward movement, and I'm just super grateful for everything that's happened.
So PJ, for any of our listeners that may not be familiar with you, I would love for you to tell everybody, how did you get started in music?
Well, started in the church playing keyboards in the church. My father's a pastor. I grew up a preacher's kid. Started playing in church, and then basically started writing songs as a young teenager, and got my placement when I was 15 on an album with this group Ministander, and that kind of started my professional career at 15. And then I just started to grow, was writing more gospel stuff for my dad, and then I moved to Atlanta, went to school, went to Morehouse, and my junior year at Morehouse, I wrote this song for NDRE, and won my first Grammy Award for writing and producing on that album as a junior at Morehouse. And that's really where it all started for me. It went from that to working with Jermaine Dupri, and I wrote this song that did really well called Let Go for Dwayne Woods. And then I started my solo career as well, and was just still have a very cult and loyal independent following, and joined up in my journey as a solo artist. I joined up with the band Maroon 5, and became a keyboard player in that band, and that was one of those twists where kind of changed my whole life and added so much to my career as well. And in that little time, I also signed to Young Money, Cash Money, Universal Records for one album. And now full circle, I just moved back to New Orleans a year ago and started my own label called Morton Records. I'm no longer with Young Money, Cash Money. And this Gumbo album that I'm at right now is the first album that I made in New Orleans. And this is where we are right now. So it's just, like I said, it's been a lot of twists and turns, like a roller coaster. My career has taken me in so many different directions. But I'm just grateful for the whole story. It's why I'm able to even make an album like Gumbo with so much different subject matter and mixing it all up like I'm doing.
So, PJ, my audience is in large a very large faith-based audience. And it was really funny when we were getting the interview set up, your team was wanting to make sure that I knew that you were not a gospel artist. And for everybody, PJ is not a gospel artist. But one of the things that I love about his music is, PJ, when your music, your writing, you talk about very real life situations and circumstances. And one of the things that I think it helps to bring even to believers is balance, because I don't think we can be so far in one way that we're not relatable in another way. So I think you help to bring balance even to believers.
For sure. Well, that's just not realistic. And I guess growing up, my father, balance was one of his favorite words. Excellence and balance. That's his two favorite words, I think. But for me, what was unbalanced was that people in church would live these lives. You know, they would go through struggles, or they would go through relationships, or meet somebody that they like, meet somebody that they're attracted to, and all of that is okay. You know, my father met my mother, you know, dated her first, didn't marry her on the first day, then married her, then had me, you know, had a family. So my issue was always, we live these lives, but then we don't want the songs that represent our lives, you know, because nobody talks about Jesus all day. I mean, if they do, I don't want to be around them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's got to be some balance in life. You know, we can talk about the weather, you know, so I can write a song about the weather, you know. So that's always, for me, why I decided to never be a gospel artist, because I felt like we tend to make them church artists and only limit them to being able to talk about God, talk about Jesus. And I always wanted to talk about more, but still have a standard to who I am as a believer, and still talk about these things from a point of view that has integrity, you know. So.
And you've been very honest about that in your music. One of my favorite songs by you is "Son of a Preacher Man," and you talk about that journey and the expectations of others and not allowing that to box you in.
Yeah, for sure. You know, one of the reasons I left New Orleans for so long, I went to school and basically never came back. I left 14 years. But basically my path was written out for me by other people, not by me, not by God. People said, "Oh yeah, you're your father's namesake. You're Paul Morton Jr. I know you're going to take over the church, and I know you're going to preach, and I know and it had nothing to do with being spiritual or anything. It was just tradition and what they saw that where my steps should go. But I knew that my path was totally different, so I rejected that. You know, I didn't reject God, but I rejected the people who felt they could box me in and write out my path for me. I knew that there was not just more, but different. You know, and my father also knew that. So. Son of a Preacher Man was a very direct and honest conversation that, about what I went through as a preacher's kid growing up.
And PJ, you know, another gift that I think that you bring is the honesty in your creativity. There's a phrase that I love. It says, when we live our unique and authentic life, we subconsciously give others permission to do the same. And I think you being your unique creative self, you've done that for so many people. And even for me personally, I have to say thank you for the honesty of your creativity.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm happy you said that, and I could tell you really know what you're talking about now.
Listen, when I say I'm a fan, sir.
Yeah, because, you know, for me, and artists go through things and you know, travel different paths. But for me, this Gumbo right now, a lot of my personal friends have been hitting me saying thank you, just because I think as artists, we're supposed to free up other creatives. They tell them, you know, thank you for writing Claustrophobic, and like just voicing the opinion of the underdog, really, the dreamer, who sometimes people don't see your vision. So really that was my purpose. I said, man, if I'm brave enough to not care about radio and not care about marketing and not care about sales, if I'm brave enough to make this album with that mindset, then I just hope to unlock something in other people. I had friends tell me that they were over music and didn't want to be creative anymore, and I basically gave them permission to be themselves and to start back up. And I feel like that's better than any record sale. You know, that's better than any spin on the radio. That's my purpose right there, and that makes me happy.
All right, guys, one more time. We are talking to PJ Morton. He's talking about his album, Gumbo. Again, my disclaimer for everybody, PJ is not a gospel artist, but he is an amazing artist, and I think you will love his music. But PJ he is a believer, and he does work within the gospel industry as well. So we're going to listen to some of PJ's music a little later on that he's worked with in collaboration with other artists. And PJ is still sticking around, so we're not going anywhere, guys. You got to make sure that you stay right here. More on the way, so make sure you stick around.
It's the inspirational power hour.